Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got most of our artists. Yeah. Come out as board members that have found and so, we started off with just financial resources, board members, staff member, from the university, but she was studying nutrition. So she didn't have this particular
Do you need another one?
That's kind of yeah, it's actually they created this whole show. And there's different ways that you can do this. So you can take the model because we don't have staff.
It's all about
I worked in those states. The first organization I worked for, 12 years, 10 to 15 years after college. The first place you work sort of gives a lot of how you want to be. So that place was like it was a small private got 75 staff, traveling. So when I left there, I was on the same setting. That's the first time in my life that in my world I've never place I came to for this, I was in the southeast United States. That's bizarre. So I was
You know what? I ain't gonna do this.
riding all along every night.
Videotape you and not me.
So I enjoyed
I don't need to be
really
videotaped. I prefer we just hit play when you go.
and my parents it's her
We want everybody to hear about Sean.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. An anomaly. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can get this working real quick.
So this right now is there's some that like well, what do you do? Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's not all. Yeah.
Our family but I made a commitment. Without your help, I ask you to be an anomaly and help spread awareness about birth defects and help me tell my story in Kona.
I think so. All right.
Testing. Hello. Hello, everyone. If you can hear me, I'm just going to see if you can all join us up in the front of the room. Hi there. This is exciting. It's glad to see everybody networking and busy, and we're going to let you get back to that after a wonderful presentation here. If you want to join us up front, it'll be easier to hear. Well, good evening, and I want to thank you all for coming this evening. I know the weather was a little iffy out there, but we always appreciate you making that effort. And I see a lot of new faces here tonight. It's really exciting. We hope that you will bring more friends and more supporters of the nonprofit sector. My name is Dina Mudd, and I am the founder of Houston Philanthropic Society. And we have been around for just about 2 years. And our tagline is Cultivating Good, if you haven't heard it. And our mission is to bridge gaps and eliminate barriers to charitable success. And our vision is to empower generosity in our community. And as you can see behind me, we have a great nonprofit here called Sean's Anomaly we're going to hear about. But for now, I just want to make sure everybody knows a little bit more about us. So I've told you our mission and our vision, but there are a lot of nonprofit representatives in the room. And what we need to do is help you understand how you can take advantage of us. We hear a lot these days that there are nonprofits helping nonprofits, and that's exactly what we are. And it's very exciting to see how much work is being done to help each other in that regard. So what we ask is that we want to hear from you as nonprofit representatives, supporters, or passionate people who support the nonprofit sector by sending us information about your events. Let us post it online on our calendar. Let us market it for you. Let us help gain some awareness about your activities. And if you have news and wishes, we'll help share that in our newsletter as well. We are working on some new technology that we are praying will come about very quickly to make that a much more efficient process so that we can be sharing all kinds of valuable information with this wonderful community that is growing with Houston Philanthropic Society. So send us your news, send us your jobs, send us your wishes, and most of all, come to our networking events once a month. If you have not been here before, we always make sure we remind you about the ability to go online on our website and go ahead and submit, I would like to be a speaker in a featured charity. And we also are seeking speakers on the corporate side. So if you know representatives from corporate philanthropy, we had a wonderful gal here last time from Insperity. We've got wonderful oil and gas companies in the community and all kinds of connections that we share. We want to help get those folks in front of this group as well, because we know how important it is for you to better understand the different corporations and their strategic initiatives. And so that's a project we're working on to actually publish a guide, and that guide will help you better understand the philanthropic landscape in the corporate community with private companies and public companies. So without further ado, I just want to thank our sponsors this evening, Masterworks International, of course the Houston City Club, and on your tables you'll see a blue card, and that's a gift from the Houston City Club. Please take that. We have plenty of them if you can't find one, but that's a visit for 3 days here at the club so you can get to know them. And then, of course, our third sponsor is PR Newswire. And so, again, without further ado, I'm going to make sure that you hear from Matthew Murphy, and he is the founder of Sean's Anomaly. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you very much, Dina. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is really an honor. Kind of feel like I'm preaching to Noah about the flood, though, when we were talking about charities. But one of the things, when I was looking and thinking about talking tonight, I wanted to definitely approach it as we as nonprofits need to work together in ways that we possibly can. So we're not really kind of having to double up on doing something. If you're great at something and you feel you can benefit from, you can help us benefit, something we're doing, I'd love to hear from you. If you think we can help you do something, please contact us. We would love to help you as well. As you can tell, I'm kind of a techie. I don't know if you see these little cameras and everything. A lot of the reason why that is because currently there's 211 people watching live stream right now across the world. So and we do that a lot. We've used this to help some of the families that we help with. And, it's really kind of interesting, and it's very easy and free, believe it or not. So I would be more than happy to help anybody that wants to do something like this, especially for meeting for anything. So anyhow, I'm from Texas. Hopefully some of us are from Texas, and anybody that's from Texas understands that anybody from Texas tells stories, and they tell really, really good stories. This is just, they sit on the front porch, they rock, they tell stories. So if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of tell you a story. And tonight's story, we're going to title it An Elephant for Dinner. And the reason why I'm calling it An Elephant for Dinner is because as nonprofits, we all know that we have a huge issue in front of us. Whatever that mission is, it sometimes can be very overbearing, and if we look at it as a whole. So that's why I kind of labeled it that, because that's what we're going to talk about tonight. A little bit about me, and this is the story. I grew up in a very, very small town. There was 1,000 people, graduated with 69 people in my class. If I did something wrong, and my neighbor saw me, I got my butt whipped by my neighbor. And then, when I got home, or my mom got home, then my neighbor told my mom, and then I got in trouble by my mom. And when my dad came home, I got in trouble by my dad. And then I had to go back and apologize to the neighbor that she had to do what she had to do. So it was really interesting coming to the city and living in the city, just how the community was. And I was really kind of set back by that. But the thing that was really, really interesting is it opened up a lot of opportunities. And I was a professional golfer after I got out of high school. And I played decent golf, not Tiger Woods golf by any means, but I was good enough to get on the tour and was able to enjoy that luxury in life. I thought I had everything pretty good. And then all of a sudden, I met the most beautiful woman I've ever met in my entire life, my wife. When I met Rachel, I knew that my life was complete, or at least to that point. And so we started a life together. We got married in 2003, and we really just kind of enjoyed what we were doing. I ended up leaving golf because of an injury and went to become a fire protection engineer, which they don't use me in here, but it's the sprinklers you normally see in buildings. I did that design. So we had a pretty great life. I was able to meet a lot of great people. We had, she's from LSU, so we had nice crawfish boils, everything. And my life was pretty much complete until all of a sudden, a wonderful little thing happened. We had a son. And his name was Sean. And we knew when he was going to be born, because of an ultrasound, that he was going to have some kidney issues. So we were prepared for that. It wasn't really that big of a deal. He was just going to have one kidney, and you can live on one kidney. So we were okay. We took him home after about 3 days because we were waiting to see if he would actually use the restroom on his own. And it actually happened to my mother, which I've never seen someone more excited about getting urinated on in my life. So anyhow, so they let us go home. And it was a really, really interesting and awesome time. That new feeling. We're first-time parents. Everything is completely brand new. I remember putting him in the little chair and thinking, he's going to break. He's going to break. And then not only that, but putting him in the car seat and going, how is this even possible that he's going to stay in this? He's so little. It's just so many things. So I was very naive on some of the things that I saw and had a lot of questions and had a lot of pride and didn't ask some questions when I should have. One day I was changing a diaper of Sean's, and I noticed that, here, actually I've got a wonderful little picture. This is how small he was in the car seat. Yeah. When I was changing a diaper one day, I noticed that his belly button or his umbilical cord wasn't closing up. This was about 7 or 8 days old. And being a boy, as soon as you take the diaper off, anybody who has boys know when the wind hits it, it flows. And so it did. It flew. And it went this way, and it went this way, this way, all at the same time. And I was wondering, why is it coming out of 3 different areas? One was his belly button, one's where it was supposed to go, and another one was coming from underneath. I immediately knew I had to ask that question to the pediatrician. So we took him to the pediatrician and asked him, is there anything wrong? Do you know if there's anything wrong? And she explained, yes, there's something wrong. We have to take him to the Texas Children's Hospital. And so, greatest hospital in the world. Took him to Texas Children's, and they tried to do a couple of tests on him. One was put a catheter in. And when that happened, he wouldn't go all the way in. So I want you to picture this. My wife, beautiful wife, who just gave birth to Sean, is on the other side of this MRI table. Can't really stand up because she's so exhausted. I'm having to hold my son's shoulders down while they're trying to put a catheter in that won't go in. She's bawling, and I can't reach her because I'm holding him down. It was the most devastating thing that I had ever gone through in my entire life, and we literally felt hopeless and alone at that point. What ended up happening is they said that he had what was called a pachyneurachus, which is a leaking of the belly button. But they weren't real sure about the catheter situation, so they were going to have to go in and find some surgical measures to figure out what was wrong. So he ended up going at 10 days old and having his first surgery. You never want to see your child that way. And he ended up pulling through that first surgery very well. And the doctor come in, sits down, explains to us how well the surgery went, how he was no longer going to have a belly button, but more of an asterisk on his stomach, which is kind of poetic to me. And then he explained what he found. He said, here's the deal. That your son's prostate, one of his urethras where it's supposed to go, where it's supposed to go. But another one grew and expelled out. And I was like, okay, that makes sense of now why I saw 3 streams. So what does it take to fix it? And then he said something to me that I don't think anybody should ever hear. World-renowned doctor, world-renowned hospital. He looks at me and says, I don't know, I've never seen this before in my entire life. I can't even describe to you how alone and hopeless I felt at that point. And the thing that really, really hit me was like, okay, I have an immediate choice right now. I can either feel sorry for our family, or we can do something about it. So I stood up and I said, you know what, Doc? We're going to make a deal. You're going to do whatever it takes to fix my son, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure another doctor doesn't say what you just told me. So what ended up happening is he said, fair enough. And he sent us home. He did some research. We lived a pretty normal life. You know, I mean, for the first 5 or 6 months, it was everything you expect. He was in diapers, so it wasn't really affecting us that much. And then he gets the call. We get the call from the doctors. He's come in, we've got a procedure ready to go. This is what we're going to do. He explains what he's going to do in the process. And he says, I want you to understand, you can do this now or you can do this whenever. You know, it doesn't really matter. And of course, the older he gets, the better it's going to be, the less life-threatening it is. Because anyone who sedates a child less than a year old, they could die on the table just from that. So my wife immediately said, well, we have to do it now because you won't remember it. I'm a guy, So first thing I thought was like, but that's a really good college trick. You can put a shot glass here and a shot glass over there. My wife didn't laugh though. And so anyhow, so we put him into his second surgery at 8 months old. And once again, I saw that face. While he was in surgery, we ended up having a little powwow in his room as we were waiting for the phone to ring. Two things could have happened. They could have said surgery is great, or you may need to prepare for it. Finally got the call. It was supposed to come in 4 hours. It ended up coming in 8. But the surgery went great. They did an unprecedented surgery at Texas Children's Hospital, and it was the most successful surgery ever, from what they understood. They also explained that the surgery, based on the research they had determined, there had only been 200 cases ever, which makes Sean 1 in 35 million. Anybody know what the odds of the lottery is here in Texas? 1 to 25 million. What ended up happening is we took him home. He was great. Had a couple of ultrasounds, and then what ended up happening is they found a tethered spine, which that's just a muscle that holds your vertebrae together. And as you grow, it would have actually caused paralysis. So right after about a year old, he had his third surgery. And I remember sitting by that phone, waiting, because by this time, he was starting to understand everything. And so I said, you know what, no matter what, I want to be the first person who sees him when he gets out of surgery. So we get the call, and I run 7 flights of stairs down. And at the time, that was really hard for me. I ended up, he opened his eyes and he saw me first. And at that time, he couldn't speak. He was 14 months old. But he looked at me and he told me everything I needed to know. He looked at me and said, I got this, Dad. Don't worry about me. You make a deal with me. When the doctors tell you that I can get out of this bed, then you help me get out of this bed. So I did. And so he sat there and we waited. And he recovered. And the whole time that I was with my son, he never took his eyes off of me. If a doctor walked in, a nurse walked in, just anybody just to take his blood pressure, he immediately stared at me because he was waiting to see my reaction. Finally, he got the reaction that he wanted. When the doctor said, okay, he's great. He's ready to start walking. And so we ended up letting him walk. It was a very, very interesting situation because he was barely walking before he had this surgery. And it was so immediate. As soon as the doctor said it, he was like, okay, let's go. And he was ready to get up and get out of bed. So we had to rush to get the IV off of him and everything else, but he ended up walking. And then I remember about that deal I had with the doctor. I said, you know what? It's time for me to do my end. So I started doing a little research, and Sean's conditions was 1 in 35 million. But then I realized that birth defects, I figured out, they're a little bit worse. Genital anomaly, just so you know, is a deviation of the normal or common order or rule. It affects 1 in 33 children. Every 4.5 minutes, a child is born with a congenital anomaly. And approximately 270,000 children die every year from it, which makes it the leading cause of infant death. Worst part about it is, you know how many foundations or organizations are dedicated to taking care of families and taking care of those? Really, there's not any. Other than the March of Dimes that really focuses on premature birth and the research of premature birth, there's not an organization or family. So this happened to us for a reason. So I decided, okay, well, we're going to start organization called Sean's Anomaly. The reason it was called Sean's Anomaly is because my wife and I were sitting outside one day and said, hey, why are we doing this and what should we name it? And she said, well, if it weren't for Sean's Anomaly, then we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. So we started Sean's Anomaly to provide education, hope, and help for the families affected by congenital anomalies. We have some pretty lofty goals. Educate the general public on congenital anomalies, fund various congenital research, aid families in gathering information, provides a centralized location where people can find information, provide licensed counseling, and some supplemental assistance when it comes to certain surgeries and stuff. My wife said, okay, here's the deal. We've got this organization. We're trying to get it started. Everybody who's ever started an organization knows how long the 501c3 filings, everything else is. So I called Texas Children's Hospital. I said, okay, well, here's the deal. We're going to try it. I'm going to back this up. I'm going to see if we can go ahead and do number 2 here and start a research project. So I called Texas Children's Hospital. I said, is there anything we can help raise money for at Texas Children's? They said, no, we don't have anything. So we started a research fund at Texas Children's Hospital to start raising money. And it was really interesting. And my wife asked me, she said, how are we going to raise awareness for it? And I said, well, Sean went through 3 impossible surgeries. And when it really comes down to it, I'm kind of overweight. I was a smoker. I had a bright idea. I said, if he can go through 3 impossible surgeries, well, then I can do something impossible. And with his help, I ended up getting a little inspiration to start swimming, biking, and running. And got my first 5K, worked my way up, 2 years, 17 races later. I decided to swim 2.4 miles, 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2-mile run known as the Ironman. All in the same day, because it was impossible. Especially for somebody who's never a swimmer, biker, or runner before 2 years. I became Sean's Ironman that day. And it became a really awesome thing, because the Mike Riley, anybody ever watch Ironman on TV, ever seen it on TV? He always says, so-and-so, you are an Ironman. When I crossed the finish line, he said, Matthew Murphy, you are Sean's Ironman. It was something he's never done before, but it meant a lot to him too. Started at 7 o'clock in the morning, finished at 10:40 that night. Impossible, right? So what ended up happening is it was kind of an inspiring thing, and a lot of people got involved. And we ended up seeing that other athletes were interested in doing something and being part of it. So we started a team, and actually I've got Carrie who's in the back. She's on the team, Team Sean's Anomaly, and we were raising that money for Texas Children's Hospital, and the goal was to raise $25,000 in 5 years, starting last year. So that's $5,000 a year. We're over $10,000 this year already. So we're working our way up. We're doing a lot of great things. So what my next chapter is I decided maybe I'd do something kind of cool. Maybe I could do the Ironman World Championship and help raise awareness on a national or international level. Now, to get into the Ironman World Championship is not an easy feat. You either have to qualify, you have to run this little distance right here, which is 11 hours. You saw what I did it in. You can do this thing called Kona Lottery, which you get $40 a year just to see yourself not show up on the lottery ticket. There's about 70,000 people who do that, and 100 people win. Or they have this thing called Kona Inspired. And what Kona Inspired is it gave people like me an opportunity to tell our story and tell it in a video set where you can actually have people like you vote on that video, and whoever gets the most votes gets invited to the Army World Championship, and then they tell our story on NBC. Currently, the voting's going on right now, and so I need you to help me prove that anything's possible on an international level. All you have to do is go online and vote and share, and you can do it daily. You can do it from your PC, a mobile phone, or a tablet. Preliminary voting ends May 8th. And then they'll start a semifinalist, which I think I'm in really good shape. I think I'm probably going to make it to the semifinals. I made it last year, but missed it by this much. Get the invitation. And you can vote by going to Send Sean's Ironman Nakona, or go to Sean's Anomaly, our website, and you can find that information. So all this has brought up a lot of hoopla, and a lot of people have said, you know, why do you do it? Or what makes you do it? Well, to be honest with you, and this is where I get to tell you something, I just do it. We ended up starting this mantra with the team, and that mantra says, I do. I do better myself. I do better others. I do test my boundaries. That is something that can be picked up by you. You don't have to be an Ironman. You don't have to be a triathlete. You don't have to be a runner. You can take that mantra and apply it to your everyday life. Instead of saying, I can do something, or I will do something, go do it. And I encourage you, as leaders in the nonprofit society, to use that as your next step in how you approach what you're doing in the future. As I've always said, and as we titled it in the beginning, how do you eat an elephant? Anybody have that answer? One bite at a time. Thank you so much. I appreciate your attention, and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Matthew, what a wonderful story. It's such an inspiration, and we're so glad to hear Sean's doing well, and how exciting that we could all fill this room and hear about such a wonderful organization who's going to make a difference and help other people so they don't have to hear those words. There are so many groups in the room right now I look forward to getting to know better. We tend to get a lot of new nonprofits coming here, which is super exciting. We want to help you spread the word about your organizations. And again, the specifics are online, how you can become a featured charity, but of course we look for 501c3 nonprofits. I'm looking at some of the business cards from tonight. We've got Star of Hope here, Food Bank, Project Grad. We've got big nonprofits, small nonprofits. We've got everything in between. We've got service providers. We've got volunteers. We've got so many amazing stories that come from our small and mighty gathering. And we hope that you will, again, continue to spread the word not only about Sean's Anomaly, but the other organizations you learn about in the room. And we know Houston is one of the most philanthropic communities in the country, and we're very blessed and fortunate for that. But sometimes it's a little hard to find out resources and needs, and so here's a perfect example. If you ever find somebody in this situation, heaven forbid, they can be assisted by Sean's Anomaly. So thank you to those who joined us online. Please come see us next month. Don't leave tonight. Everybody in the room, please keep networking. But I do want to remind you that we have these mixers once a month here at the Houston City Club, and it's the third Thursday of the month. And we have another great nonprofit we'll be announcing soon. So go online at houstonps.org and fill out the form to become a member, and we'll see you next month.
It's a great story.
Oh, thank you.
It is. I mean, and it tells why.
What's that?
It tells why.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it's really...
And why is a very difficult question to